Hey everybody, it's Jenni Grover from Chronic Babe, and I am so excited to talk with my friend Noelle Janka today about her amazing life and the coaching she's doing. She does all kinds of work with chronic babes and spoonies like us, and I am really excited to welcome her today. Hey Noelle.
Hey Jenny, it's so nice to be with you.
Yeah, great to see your face. We always have such fun when we talk, and we've known each other for a while now. I feel like we kind of get each other, so I feel like we can always just like dive right into a cool conversation whenever we meet.
Yeah, we certainly have a lot to talk about.
Yeah, that's true. So I met you through our mutual work, the different ways that we work with people. Can you tell us a little bit about how your life has evolved to where you're a chronic babe?
Yeah, it feels really good to be sort of to have stepped into that and be like, yeah, I
Mhm.
am a chronic babe. I think different people get there at different times, and for me, it was definitely a journey. I've been living with health challenges for 17 years since I was in high school,
Mm.
um, and so my big thing is chronic Lyme disease, and it took 8 years just to get diagnosed, and so
Oh my
it was
gosh.
a lot of going back and forth between sort of accepting what was happening and not
Yeah.
knowing what it was, and then being like, I have to find the answer,
Yeah.
um, and just being like really cool with it, and then just being like, this is the worst thing ever. So there was a lot of going back and forth, um, and but yeah, I think getting the diagnosis was helpful, and then for me, like, things really changed when I actually had to stop working and
Oh
took some
yeah.
time off. And that's when I was like, well, shit, now what do I do? And I actually ended up, I used sort of the last of my savings to hire a coach for myself, because
Oh,
I was
cool.
like, I had gone through a series of burnouts where I started a job that I loved and then had to quit because I got sick. And um, I was like, and I have a lot of activism and stuff in my background, and I was like, I sort of was at this point where it felt like changing the world equaled being sick, but I knew in my
Wow.
heart that that wasn't actually true.
Mhm,
It's like,
mhm.
there's got to be a way to like do cool stuff for people that doesn't land me like totally like flat on my
Yeah.
back.
Yeah.
And maybe this life coach who used to be an organizer can help me figure that out.
Mm.
um yeah, and in the process of that, that's when I kind of like started stepping into being a chronic babe, and seeing that my life could still be awesome, and that I could still had a lot to offer. And then just was like, I gotta take these coaching tools back to my community, because I was getting so much out of them, for my own healing journey. And I was like, everybody's got to know, this is so good. um, and that's kind of how I ended up as in this role of being a coach and getting to support other people as well.
Yeah, that's incredible. I think that was really brave of you to say, okay, I'm gonna plunk down the last of my savings on this. Like, I hope it works. It's kind of a leap of faith.
Yeah, it's true. And the reason that I even knew about coaching was because my partner at the time had been working with a coach, and I was initially like, why would you pay someone? Like, why wouldn't you just talk to your friends? Like, that's so weird,
Right. Right.
like totally closed minded about it. But you
Well,
know,
I came to coaching from that perspective too. I was like,
yeah.
I'm a do it myselfer. I mean, I have a therapist, but at the time I was like, okay, I have a therapist. That's good. I don't need anybody else.
Hmm.
But I had a friend who was a coach, and she suggested that we could try a little bit of it. And I was like, okay. And, she really helped me turn my business into something like really self-sustaining, really helped me figure out what my values were and how that was going to shape my business. And I worked with another coach since then too. So I really recognize the value of working with a professional, and especially working with someone who understands what it's like to be chronic babes or spoonies, and to have that chronic illness lifestyle uh,
Hmm.
impressed upon us, not like we choose it, but that's what it is. So
Hmm.
um, you also do yoga. So I love that you have, like, you weave those things together sometimes, right?
Yeah, yeah. I That's something that I started playing with in the last year, and that I'm trying to do more of is, when I lead coaching groups, we often will do a breathing exercise at the beginning to help everybody feel really centered and present. And then I've led workshops where it's really in person and online, where it's really like half coaching tools, half, things that I've learned from yoga. And I think that, as you well know, probably from your own experience and from working with so many people, when we feel like our body's working against us, we can kind of get really disconnected from it. And a lot of what I like to support people with is learning how to be in partnership with your body. And I think some of that is really comes from like being aware of it again, and like not just the bad, but like all of it, like the bad, the good, the bad, and the ugly, and like loving all of it. And so I think yoga's, there's a lot of ways to do that, but I think yoga and the tools that come with yoga can be a nice way to get there.
I'm so with you on that. I started doing yoga after I got diagnosed with fibro 20 years ago. And at first I was like, this is so hard. I really felt like I was a really closed-minded person back then in some ways. Like no coaching, no yoga. And yet those are two of the things that have helped me so much. That body awareness, that connection with my physicality, and also my spirituality, just who I am inside, and my heart and my mind, have been so valuable to me. So I think it's cool that you've woven some of that together in your work. I'm really down with that. I think it's awesome.
Yeah. And I think sometimes, like yoga's kind of become so ubiquitous in the US that it gets kind of a bad rap in our community, because people will be like, oh, you should just like sleep more and do yoga and you'll be fine.
Right.
Right. And something that I just like to emphasize is there's a million different kinds of yoga. Like I really believe that there is yoga for everyone. And then, the asana part of yoga, like what we think of in the West as yoga, is really just one small part of what yoga is. And there's so much of the yoga philosophy that we can benefit from without actually like going to a studio and getting on a mat. And so I try to bring those parts, into people's, awareness too. So they know that maybe going to a studio is like totally not possible for you right now, but it doesn't mean that there might not be an aspect of yoga that is really beneficial to your.
Yeah, going to a yoga studio is hard for me. I always do so much better with home instruction or doing it with friends, but also like you're saying, thinking about just all the other aspects of it, that the breathing and the getting grounded and all those things that we do really helps me. So when you think about your coaching work, like what other kinds of things do you like to focus on, especially when you're working with people with chronic illness? Because you do have a really strong focus in that, right?
It's about half. I do career coaching as well. I love supporting fellow spoonies. And so other things we focus on a lot are building self-compassion, right? Because everybody needs that, right? Not just those of us that have chronic illness, but when we're mean to ourselves, it just complicates. If for example you're not doing the self-care routine that you want to be doing, and then on top of that you're beating yourself up about it, it makes it a lot harder to just get motivated to do the thing. So that's something that we work on. Is I like one of the big things that I support people with is seeing where their mindset is getting in their way, and where an unhelpful mindset is running the show. Because once people can start to see that for themselves in the moment that they're doing it, then they can choose to shift their attention back to what's most important to them. And that can be really huge. And in terms of being a spoonie, it's like you get to save so much energy when you can see that you're doing that, and you're like, ooh, I'm not going to entertain that conversation. I'm going to do this other one that's going to really support me. So that's part of it. And then, another thing that's really important to me, and I think you talk about this a lot too, in your work, Jenni, is just the importance of doing things that bring you joy. And I think, I see this so much in the Lyme community in particular, where people they're like, all I do is work and like do self-care. Like one of my clients, this is like one of my favorite quotes ever. Because it's like so real. She's like, I feel like all my life is like work and coffee enemas and sleeping. And I mean, like, how are you going to be excited to be alive when like that's and we have to have joy. We have to do things that bring us joy, and we have to know like what it's all for. And so that's another thing, like in the vision workshops that I lead, is like helping people reconnect with what's most important to them, and figuring out how to do that even in small ways. Or, you know, sometimes when you've been dealing with something for a really long time, what's important to you changes, you know? And so sometimes people are in a place where they're like, I don't even know what I love anymore. And so that's something that we look at is, you know, either reconnecting with things that they've stopped, or that they feel like they've lost, or seeing what's new for them. It's like some people are like, oh, like actually, like I want to play music, and I've never played music before. And so it's like we look at how they can integrate that into their experience.
Well, and I'm with you on the joy. It's like we have to find ways. I mean, you can see behind me, I'm big into quilting, and it gives me so much joy, and I'm surrounded by it in my house, in my tiny little house, and I love it. And if I didn't find a way, even just for 5 minutes a day, to sew or to make something, I guess I won't even entertain the idea of if I didn't. Let's just say I'm so happy that I do.
Yeah.
It gives me a pleasure. Yeah, thank you. I caught myself right in that moment.
Good job.
Emphasizing those things that really make us happy, that help us explore, you know, other ways we can get in touch with the world and other senses and other parts of our skill sets, I think is super important. Do you, because I got to take one of your visioning workshops, and I thought that was the coolest. I really enjoyed it. Talk to us about how those work, because I thought it was different than anything I'd done before.
Oh, that's cool to hear. Yeah, it's I mean I lead workshops monthly online, and then I lead a lot of in-person workshops, but the vision workshop is the one I've been doing the longest, and the one that I do the most, and the one that I love the most. And it's it's an opportunity for people to tap into what's most important to them at this particular time that they're taking the workshop. And so this is one of the instances where I do a little bit of yoga stuff and a little bit of coaching stuff. And some of what we do is we do a lot of breath work, getting really sort of grounded. And then I invite people to sort of tap into their intuition, and literally ask themselves like what comes up for them around certain questions that I ask. And it's really cool to see what comes up for people. I mean, sometimes they'll be like, oh, like this is what I heard, or this is what I saw, and like that totally makes sense. And sometimes people are like I did a workshop once where someone was like, I saw that I had to move to Chicago.
Oh, wow.
They lived in DC, and they're like, I don't know what that's about, but I'm going to explore it.
Wow.
So I love that part of it. And then we actually, then we write about what comes up for people, and people start crafting vision statements that they can use as tools on their journey with their health challenges. And it can be a way to sort of to like paint a picture of what they'd love their life to look like, what those things are that bring them joy, like what kind of support they would love. And it's really neat. I mean, people, especially when I do the workshop in person, it's, I walk in the room and people are kind of just like, tired and gloomy. And then like by the time I leave, they're just like,
oh, I love it. And that also feels so good to like bring that out of people and give them that opportunity to see themselves in this like richer light. That's got to feel really good.
Yeah, it's really fun, and especially because some people, actually quite a few people, especially if they've been dealing with something for a long time, people will come in and they'll be like, I don't think I can envision anything. Like I feel like really stuck where I am now. Like I can't envision the future. And not only can I not envision the future, I'm like really upset with myself that I can't envision the future. And that's just real. And even those people, sometimes I have to sort of like, do a little bit of coaching with them, but even those people will be like, I do have something that I'm excited about. And that's really fun, is to support people in reconnecting to that.
I love that. Well, I really had so much fun doing it. And I've actually gone back and looked at the vision, like the stuff that I wrote a couple times and been like, huh, yeah, I am going to make that happen. So sometimes we all need some kind of nudge. We need a push or a guide, somebody to kind of get us in the right direction. And so I really appreciate that kind of work. When you work with folks, so you do the workshops, and then I know you do one-on-one coaching.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think you said you had group coaching too, right?
Yeah. I actually just launched the second term of what I call the Spoonie Action Academy. And it's a group coaching program for folks with health challenges, and specifically folks with health challenges that really want to change the world. Like, I really believe that everybody deep down inside really wants to change the world, but these are typically people that consider themselves activists or organizers, or wish that they were doing more of that. Because there's like this big connection between like activism and chronic illness and burnout. And so I want to give people an opportunity to figure out how to be contributors to their community and take really good care of themselves at the same time. And I think that the sort of broader social justice movement really needs that. And then, like, we were talking about your book in another conversation and the work that you do, and you were saying that working with the community is something that really nourishes you. And I mean, that's true for me, and I think that's true for a lot of people. And so I think it's really sweet for folks to be in a group of people that are all trying to figure out how to do that. And then everybody gets not just my coaching support, but the support of the other, 5 or 6 people in the group. And it's pretty cool. Like, people come together and they're like, who are these people? But then 1 or 2 sessions in, they're like, I love all of you. And I think it's because people really understand each other. And it's as you know so well, I mean, we really need community.
For sure.
Yeah. I think our experience can be so isolating. And so, doing the online coaching group is a nice way for people to connect with other folks that just like really get where they're coming from.
Well, I like that because it makes it so accessible. Like, not only can people work with you online, but they're working in a group and they're meeting other people. And I think it's good. Like, I'm sure, we all get to model for each other our best behavior, or the the workarounds that work for us. If we're sharing that with other people, we may not even mean to, but we're teaching them, we're showing them what's possible. And I feel like you really have figured out a way to embody that is just the coolest.
Thanks, Jenni.
Yeah, sure. One thing that I wanted to ask you about was this blog post that I saw recently. It's really a video, but you've got a little blog post, but I'm looking at the title real quick. Perpetuating the illusion of having your shit together.
Yeah.
I thought that was so great. And it's such a fun video. And I think that when we think about like group coaching too, it's like you get to see people being real. And so you get to see that, like, that person who you see being an activist, who you feel like is out there all the time, and like, how does she have all the energy to do that? And if you're in a group with them, then you actually get to hear them say, well, that was a really good day, and the next day I crashed and I felt terrible. And I still did the stuff like that. That chance to connect with people and be real about the balancing act that we're all performing all the time. So was there something that inspired you to do that video, like a specific thing that happened or that someone said to you?
It was actually, it kind of came from, I had 3 sort of similar conversations with 3 different clients of mine that were all related to that. And then it was something that there's this incredible woman who's also a coach and an energy healer, who's also a dear friend, Heather Smith. And she asked me a while back when I was talking about, well, I guess she just said to me, she's like, you need to stop worrying about disappointing people. She's like, that's going to free up so much energy for you when you stop worrying about that. And it's sort of like this light bulb went off. And I think that that's, because our society doesn't encourage us to be real about health challenges, and I think we're still coming out of that place where we whisper about like, oh, well, they're having a hard time, or
right.
It's like there's this binary, right, where there's everything's good and you're like crushing life, and then if you're not, then like there's something wrong with you, right? Like if
Yeah.
you have depression, or even if you're sad, or if you're like going through grief, and it's like we don't know how to deal with that. And
Yeah. Yeah.
and so when we are dealing with something like chronic pain or chronic illness, we feel like we have to almost protect other people from what we're experiencing. And I just hate that so much, because it robs those people of the opportunity to see us for who we really are.
Yeah.
It robs everybody of the opportunity to get and receive support. And and it's just like, it's just so much inauthenticity, and it's just like, so I feel like anything that we can do to reverse that, and like be vulnerable with each other and be authentic with each other, and do everything that Brene Brown tells us to do.
Right. It's funny. I was just having the same conversation with a friend yesterday who's really big in the quilting and sewing community. And we were talking about just how, especially in that community, I was like, it's so much about visuals, right? Like this thing behind me, this looks beautiful right now, but like I can take it apart and make it fall down like no problem, because it's my design wall, right? But we create this beautiful visual for people, and then people, they forget that, like, especially when we're on social media, it's just this little sliver of who we are. It's just like a moment captured. It's not the whole picture, like you don't see all the messy stitches on the back side of my piece, right? Like you only see this side. And so I've been thinking about that a lot. And the more we can be very real with each other, and the more we can show our real experience, I feel like we're serving each other in that way. And also, you're right, it takes so much pressure off of us, because we actually get to chill out. Like I put lipstick on today because I really felt cruddy and I wanted to like boost myself a little bit. But most days I don't wear makeup. I don't, if I do because it's fun. But it takes a lot of pressure off, which is nice, because as chronic babes, as spoonies, we already have all this other extra pressure that people who don't have illness are not even dealing with, So why pile on,
Totally. It's like another place where we expend so much energy that we don't need to expend. And when we already have less energy than other people, it's just like, no, like, don't do it. Like,
it's not worth it. Well, I'm so glad you put that post up, because I just thought it was hilarious and very real. And I think the more that we can put out there, the better. Well, I always feel like we have such a fun time talking. I'm wondering if, as we wrap up, what is the best way for people to learn more about how they can work with you? Like, I know you have your Facebook group too. I forgot to ask you about that. The Spoonie Superstars, is that?
Yeah. Thanks for asking. Yeah, so I do run a Facebook group called Spoonie Superstars, and it's private, but anyone can join if they ask to. And that came out of being in other spaces online and just seeing so much despair. Kind of, like when I found your site, I was like, yes, because so many places in the online space where spoonies and people with chronic illness come together, there's just a lot of sharing of like all the worst parts of it. And I think it is important for people to get that out, but I wanted to create a place for celebration and support, and where people could meet other people that really get it. And like one of the things that I was thinking was like, I want there to be a place where somebody with chronic fatigue syndrome can be like, I got out of bed today, and 10 people would be like, yeah, you did. Like, you're freaking awesome. Yeah, and so that's what Spoonie Superstars is about. So folks can find me there, and then I'm on Facebook, Noelle Janka Coaching and Yoga, and then my website is just noellejanka.com, and I have a blog there called How to Kick Ass at Being Alive.
Such a good title. I love it.
Yeah, and so always excited to talk to folks and see if there's anything I can do to be supportive.
That's great. Well, I'll include links to all those things when I post this, because I think it's important to make it easy for people to find you. But I really am thankful for you sharing your work with the world and sharing your time with me and everybody today. And I encourage everyone watching to go check out Noelle's work. We need as many of us like people out there helping each other as we can. And it's a great way to learn how you can be of service to yourself and to others in our community. So thank you, Noelle.
Yeah, thank you so much, Jenni. I appreciate the opportunity.
Sure. Be AWAP.
Bye.